And I think that we get stuck in our heads in thinking that this great transformation, this great collective shift that we all so deeply desire of moving from the masculine into a world where we can freely operate in our feminine and receive money in the feminine, do all the things and be recognized and seen and not be railing against, the past generational stories about what is possible for you or the kind of money you can or cannot receive. There's a block inside a block there. It's like it doesn't have to take generations. It can happen in your generation. It can happen like right now.
Are you ready to bust through your fears, connect to your purpose, and take inspired action to build a business that fuels your soul and your bank account? Welcome to Luscious Hustle, the podcast for soulful entrepreneurs. I'm Betsy Milne.
And I'm Laura Milne. We're transformational brand and business coaches, bringing you the tools, ideas, and motivation you need to propel your side hustle from a spark of an idea to a full-fledged, lucrative business and luscious life.
Tune in each week as we teach you our unique blend of spiritual practices mixed with savvy business strategy to help you scale and grow your brand with ease.
Thanks for joining us today. Now let's get started.
Welcome back to the Luscious Hustle podcast. And if you met me in real life, you'd know that I'm very different from Laura in the sense that
I love to open up the episode.
Yes, this is how we're opening up the episode. So I love going to the movies. Like I love it. Like love. I love a good story. And I think there's something about being a caves environment person that I like being in a cold, dark room with a bunch of strangers and no lights on.
With your back to the wall.
With my back to the wall. Just being in that sort of immersive experience. And so, one of my favorite pastimes, besides reading like a ridiculous number of fiction books, but another one of my little like quirks is that I like watching movies, and I like really good movies. And I also like Hallmark movies. I guess I shouldn't say all good movies, but the other day I decided that I was going to take a break from the Hallmark Channel. And I say that I'm so different from Laura because, like, Laura, you don't watch TV. You don't watch Netflix. You are, like, so much better than me.
You know what? That's not entirely true. It's hilarious. So I watch every night. So first of all, we don't have a TV in our living room. Like, we don't. We have one TV. It's in our master bedroom, which is, I don't know, we just put it there. So the kids can watch, we can have like a movie night and they can like, or also we have a TV or projector screen on the rooftop, but obviously that's only operational in the summer months. But every night we go to bed and Zach will say like, pick out a movie. And I'd be like, okay. And we do, it's hilarious every night. Like, go pick out a movie. Like, okay. So we pick out a movie. And we never watch more than 5 minutes of it before we either cuddle and fall asleep or we have sex and fall asleep. And so it takes us, I mean, if it's a 2-hour movie, divide that by 5 minutes, and that's how long it takes us.
Like
that's how many days it takes us to watch a movie. It's hilarious. We always feel like, oh, wouldn't that be nice? We'll just like cuddle in bed and watch a show. Never happens.
Yeah, so I don't have a TV in my room, and I do not watch anything on my iPad, like if I'm in bed. One of the things that happened when my dad, like right after my dad passed, like I was up a lot, a ton of insomnia. And one of the hacks that I learned during that period was if I can't sleep, I get up and I go downstairs and watch television, and then I come back to bed. Like when I get sleepy, I cannot have a TV in my room. I can't have it on. Like it just will screw me up so bad. But I do like watching movies. And the other day I was on Saturday, I want to say, I went down the rabbit hole of NASA movies. If you know me, you also know that I love space, and I love, how many times have I gone to the Kennedy Space Center since I've met you?
So many. I'm jealous.
I love it.
So
we do the backstage tour. We go out to all the places. Like we've seen the Elon Musk, the SpaceX stuff. Like it's so freaking cool. And I think the thing that I've always loved about NASA is just, it's like a coming together of minds. It's a true illustration, if you will, of the collective and what the collective can do when you come together and when you honor everyone's expertise in the collective. And so I watched The Martian the other day. And let me just tell you, I am still fucking pissed that Matt Damon did not win an Oscar. I get it, Leo. Like, you had to make The Revenant that year. And there was really great stiff competition. But I still think Matt Damon should have won the Oscar for The Martian because it is an absolute brilliant performance. But the thing that really struck me as I was watching this movie, and I'm clearly on a soapbox right now, was if you haven't seen The Martian, basically what happens is they're on a mission to Mars. There's a catastrophic storm that comes in. Matt Damon gets like punctured in his suit and left behind, right? They all think he's dead, but really what's happened is an antenna has gone through his suit and they think he's dead. So they leave him behind because they're trying to save themselves. Fine. Totally logical, right? Like, whatever. So he wakes up and he's left on Mars with like very little food and no way to communicate because it takes something like 24 years for their system to get back to the Earth. Okay. So what does Matt Damon do? Well, first of all, he farms in his own shit, which I just think is awesome. Like, he grows potatoes on Mars and makes enough food. Like, but this is the thing. Like, he solves one problem after the other after the other. I have no food. I need to make food. Good news, he's a botanist. So he farms potatoes in his own shit. He makes rain, he makes water, like everything that's supposedly quote unquote impossible, he does. And then he figures out a way to connect with NASA, and then NASA goes through this whole big thing about how we're going to get him back from Mars. It's an awesome movie. And I was really struck as I was watching this around community. Like, here he is, he's the solopreneur of Mars, right? He is the captain of the ship, right? And he is stuck on Mars and he's doing everything alone, but he's trusting that the people are going to come back for him, right? Like, he's trusting that he's going to find a way to solve his problems, get into communication with them, or worst case scenario, 4 years from now they're going to be back anyway. So he knows that. So he's like, yes, it's destitute and it feels really heavy, but at the same time, he's just like solving problems, which I think is amazing. But then there's also the flip side of like, and to me, this is how my mind works, and I'm such a dork. I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. But to me, it was like the illustration of the solopreneur and like Amazon. You know, like NASA's Amazon, and it's got all these people and all these moving pieces and parts, and then there's the solopreneur. But the cool thing is, it's like they all came together and broke all the rules together to solve the problem. And there was like so much genius in the two sides coming together. And it really got me thinking about 2020, 2021, the future of our business, and just how important it is to have community and how important it is to celebrate the smart people in the room. Like, the person, you know, if you're listening to this, like, to me, you are one of the smart people in the room. And it's up to us to acknowledge your genius and your gift and to, you know, support that.
I think, well, you and I, when we were talking about this before, we got on a kick of like talking about all the movies that we love and in shows that inspire us. And we talked about like Hidden Figures.
I also watched that right after The Martian.
Yep. We've talked about Bletchley Circle, which love a British drama. Love it.
I'm reading a lot of books on Bletchley.
Available for that all day long. We talked about Enigma with what's his name? Doctor Strange.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Benedict Cumberbatch. Thank you. But you know, and even, you know what, it reminded me too, one of the first space movies that I watched as a kid was Apollo 11 with Tom Hanks. And again, like I will forever remember that scene where it's actually, I think it's Kevin Bacon, his character. They're talking back and forth with NASA and trying to figure out like what parts they have available to MacGyver something together to like slingshot themselves around the moon and get back. They're not going to be able to land on the moon. The dreams of walking on the moon are done, but maybe we can still survive. And there's this scene where he's like flipping through this book and he's just doing math, like wicked fast, complex calculations. And I remember like my mom was like, astronauts have to be so fast with math. They have to be able to solve their problems in a second. And I loved the energy of that movie. It was like they were talking back and forth to NASA and they were talking amongst themselves and they were just like, okay, what can we make happen? And they were breaking rules.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like they understood all the rules of physics and the laws of the universe. And by understanding the rules, they were able to break them.
Yeah.
And take what they had in front of them and solve a bigger problem. And it was like this collective energy of solving a problem. And that gives me like the chills every single time.
Yeah.
in the movies, and it's like, well, why? I mean, that was a real thing that happened in real life. And
Catherine Goebel does that in Hidden Figures too. Like
yes,
when
exactly.
her and Kevin Costner are having this conversation, he's like, "It's math that doesn't exist." And so then there's this scene where they're all coming together and they're talking about the go no go point and bringing it back down to Earth and moving from a like one orbit to a different orbit, like one that's circular to one that's oblong or something like that. And she said, well, what if it's this math, like Euclidean? I want to say it's like Euclidean something equation. And it's like having that ability to go back and forth. Like, yes, you're creating something new, but what if it's just you need that one person that has that one piece of information that can go back to something that you just never thought of? Like,
Hmm.
it's so dynamic, and yeah, they have to do it so fast. Clearly we have like a NASA obsession over here at Luscious
We
Hustle.
do. We love, like, it's so cheesy, but it's like it's the moon, it's reaching for the stars, it's like that connection to the universe,
Yeah.
but also like the mystical meets the math, meets the science of it, quite literally. And we so you and I were invited to be guest speakers on our friend Danielle Serank's group, the initiation. Is it called the initiation?
Yes, the
Or am I making that up?
initiation. Nope,
Yep.
not.
And so we did a talk about human design, and there were so many juicy questions that were coming out of that. And what and we I mean we can talk about some of the questions that came out of there because they were really good. But what I loved about this was, like, you know, as a collective, you might think that here I am, I'm building my business, I'm trying to build my brand, I'm working on like sales and clients, and like I want to get this thing going because it's me and it's my brand, and there's the work that I do. But it's tapping into actually how we are collectively as solopreneurs can come together and solve a bigger problem. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
problem that we're all actually kind of railing against constantly. And it's this, like, how do we actually build, like, really, 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 for realsies, build a business in the feminine and break all the rules that we've been taught about how you build a business in the online space, how you make sales, how you make money, which has all previously come from the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And what does it mean to come into alignment? And so it's this piece of, like, the way I see it is, every one of us has to take ownership of our little corner of the universe and do our work in our corner of the universe and clean that up. But it's like when we are doing that in connection and community with other women who are also individually cleaning up their little corners of the universe, doing their deeper inner work, showing up in their businesses, building and growing and changing, and not just it's not just that they're making money, but discovering how to make money in alignment and do it in a different way. And when we all continue to connect and collaborate on that, the bigger problem becomes solved,
Mm-hmm.
like in the micro, in our individual lives, but in the macro as well. And I think it's interesting too that, I mean, I hit on this in like some Insta stories the other day. It's like, I mean, the internet was invented in our lifetime, really. I mean, I know technically it existed in the military like before our time, but not really. Like the internet as we know it
Yeah.
has
The current
only been,
iteration.
yeah, it really, a functional internet that any average person could hop onto has come about inside of our lifetime, and really just in like the last 20, 25 years. So, I mean, who
Yeah, I
built
did
the
my
internet?
reports in high school using encyclopedias.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Hmm. So it's like the internet was built as a collective, and we built all kinds of new rules and concepts and ways, and like we just took the math of coding and like how do we build this thing? And so then but then it's come to a sort of crescendo in, I think, in terms of the online space and in the rules of how to build a successful business. You have to have a funnel, and you have to do webinars, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. And there's a certain way, and there's a certain way there. And it's like, well, but is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Like you and I think about this so much in the work that we're doing now within Luscious Hustle and the work that we're doing with our clients. It's like you and I have spent all this time learning the rules as they were written. And so now that we've learned the rules, we get to break them and we get to remake them. And that's so, so exciting. And it's more exciting to me when we get to share that knowledge with others and watch other women do the same thing, because their success actually furthers the collective solving of the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important to recognize that, well, and I don't even know if it's important to recognize. I think everybody recognizes this, but I think it's really important, at least for me in the business. I really truly believe in leading with integrity, and I really truly believe in like being authentic, like being our authentic selves and not just doing what everyone else is doing because that's what everyone else is doing. And so as we have made massive shifts in our business this year, and honestly, like I'm so excited for the stuff that's coming down the pike right now. Like, I am so excited to be relaunching the playground and doing a new version of it. I'm so excited for Generation Wealth, which is coming up. And the reason that I'm excited for both of these programs is because it is about community. It is about getting in the room and looking at things in a new way. And the coolest part about being a coach, I never really thought about it until, well, this past weekend when I watched all these movies. But like, our business is, we've never been a typical like solopreneur, because even in my first business, I had partners, like I had a business partner. In this business, we have each other. And from the get-go, like part of why I never wanted to be a quote unquote solopreneur was because I love the connection, right? Like I love having somebody to bounce ideas off of. I love having somebody when I feel like I've just gone way out into left field, they can be like, oh, that's a good idea, or nope, go back to the drawing board, and that's what you get in coaching, right? Like you get to have somebody that's in your corner. But I really do believe that being in a group, being surrounded by women where we're tearing down the walls and sharing stories about our own experiences, not only does it make it easier to get answers, but you also get answers to questions that you didn't even know existed.
Or that you didn't know you had.
Exactly.
You're like, oh, that is my problem.
Exactly.
There it is.
So
I love when I have those moments.
Exactly. And, it's interesting because I know a lot of people listen, one-on-one coaching is incredible. I love the containers that we do, but that's why we've elevated even our private coaching to include whatever live course we're running right now. Because I do think it's that important to start coming back together in community, come together and ask questions, come together and learn from each other. Because to me, that is the evolution. That is the next step. That is where we all need to be going, because everyone used to say like, there's space for everybody. Yes, there is space for everybody. Like, I really truly believe that. I don't think if we're in a program with a bunch of coaches, like, I don't think that takes away from us. I don't view them as competition. I view it as an expansion, a connection. And I feel like COVID, because I feel like COVID pulled people back, right? It put people in different corners. And because we couldn't do in-person events, like this sort of dynamic energy changed. But I will tell you, from the last 6 months of running the playground and being in the shift right now, the connection is palpable in our groups. And I'm just so excited to bring more and more and more of that into our community going forward, because it's amazing to watch these women step into this unknown space for themselves and lead with such integrity.
Oh my gosh, the ladies in the playground have the nicest things to say about each other.
I know. And they
were
celebrate each
complete
other
strangers at the beginning of April.
Yeah.
Complete strangers. And they have the nicest things to say about each other. They really recognize each other. They really see each other. They are sharing wins. I mean, every week we put up a thread for celebration, and there's just like bullet points, more and more and more and more and more and more and more wins. And it's so exciting to see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and even in the shift, this, honestly, you want to talk about rewriting your own rules. We created the shift after we created the activation in the shift. The ideas, the downloads came. We acted on them pretty quickly. I would have liked to have acted quicker, but whatever. You live and you learn, right? And even that, doing a 3-week program, doing a 3-week, 9 calls in 3 weeks. These women show up. They move stuff around for themselves. They are really showing up, asking deep questions, having realizations, learning how to embody their divine feminine leader. It's exciting and dynamic. And I just want to keep bringing more of that into the world, because that's the stuff, like you said, it lights us up. And we all have our own little zone of genius that we get to share with the world. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, and you bring in the timepiece. We mentioned this in a previous podcast where we talked about collapsing time, but it's we intentionally did the shift in a shortened period of time. We could have taken that same program and spread it out over several months. But I
Yeah, eight
really feel like
weeks.
it would have lost its vibe. It would have lost the efficacy of it, because the whole point of a shift is that recognizing that great things, miracles practically, can happen in a very short span of time if you choose to lean in and align with them. And I mean, that really brings us full circle to all of the movies that were really hitting home for you. Like, Hidden Figures, Apollo 11, like The Martian. They had to solve big, big, big problems, seemingly impossible problems. You will die in the next 24 hours if you don't solve this kind of a problem. And they did it in no time,
Yeah.
because it's like, well, this is the time we have, so let's make a miracle happen. And I think that we get stuck in our heads and thinking that this great transformation, this great collective shift that we all so deeply desire, of moving from the masculine into a world where we can freely operate in our feminine and receive money in the feminine, do all the things and be recognized and seen, and not be railing against the past generational stories about what is possible for you or the kind of money you can or cannot receive. There's a block inside a block there. It's like, it doesn't have to take generations. It can happen in your generation. It can happen like right now. And that's what has gotten me really excited about the shift. And it's why I'm like so excited about generation wealth,
Yeah.
gen wealth. Like that is us right now. We are gen wealth. And what can I say? Like it gets to happen in a short period of time if you choose it. You can
Yes.
collapse time that way.
Yes. Yeah, and I think honestly that's another thing that we've learned, right, in the last couple of years. Things can happen. Things can shift very, very quickly. And I mean, listen, full transparency, you and I have spent 4 years working together. I mean, I would say money mindset has been at the cornerstone. It's always been in the back of our minds. Like, we have dealt with so many old stories, so many limiting beliefs around, how money was supposed to come in, how we were supposed to launch something, how we were going to invest our money, how we were going to get out of debt. Like, there's all these different pieces. And a lot of that is that money IQ. But the conversations that I still have with people, and even with our clients, it's like, okay, but I've done all the money mindset work and it's still not working. Like, I've read all the books and something's still missing for me. And I'm struggling to, maybe it's like they're making money, but they're struggling to keep their money, or they're, struggling to make money and keep the other money that's coming in, right? Like living paycheck to paycheck. And when you think about generation wealth, to me, like us being the generation of wealth, where we get to step outside the old stories of the Great Depression and world wars, and we get to step into this new paradigm of abundance, the divine feminine, this expansion, this growth. It's like, okay, great. But there's still that piece that's missing. That's what we're going to dig in together in Generation Wealth. It's all about rewriting your financial potential. And I can tell you, my parents passed down a lot of shit, a lot of baggage around finances. My great-grandparents, like, I can trace back the stories multi-generationally and how they got passed down to me. And guess what? It only took like a month to rewrite them. It took a month of awareness and then really stepping in fully and saying, yeah, I'm ready to release this. And then they were gone. So it's not just me creating a legacy for future generations of my family, but it's also rewriting the history. It's rewriting the past. And to me, like, when we talk about stepping into wealth, like, wealth represents so many things to so many people. It's freedom, it's abundance. Sure, it's financial security. Yes, it's adventure. That it's trips for your kids. There's masculine and feminine energy in that legacy. And so 5 days, we're going to dig into and like unpack all of this. It's not about finding more limiting beliefs. It's learning how to navigate those limiting beliefs and to let them go in the present moment so that you can create a legacy of wealth. We get to be that generation of wealth. And we get to heal our parents. Like, I have healed my mother's money mindset. Like, what? Like, I have gotten her to do things that I never in my lifetime thought that I would ever see out of my mom.
Generation Wealth will be a really powerful program if you are someone who has had conflict, or maybe passive aggressive conflict, with a parent who just doesn't get what you're doing, who doesn't get any paradigm of money in the feminine who has like a lot of limitations around lack, or I know from my upbringing, it's like was always praised for working more.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're busy? That's so good. Great. It's great that you're busy. And I would be like, is it though?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, but truly to them, it's like, well, if you're busy, you're employed and you're, dollars, hours for dollars, right? So it's a good thing in
Yep.
their paradigm. And you're right. I mean, your mom's shift has been absolutely radical. And who would
We
have
never
thunk?
thought we would see
Who
the
would have
day.
thunk? I personally wouldn't have believed it like a year ago.
No, but I had to do this. And here's the thing. Here's the lesson, and this is like why I'm so excited about this program. It's like I had to do the work first. I had to go first. I had to be the living example, not only for my mom, but for myself, for my brother, for my sisters, for my niece and nephews. Like, I had to do the work myself. And we're going to walk you through that in Generation Wealth. And like I said, it's 5 days, 5 modules. We are going deep, but the ripple effect, the legacy that you're going to create from this is going to be exponential, because the possibilities then become exponential. And you get to break the rules. And it's really expansive. And it feels so fucking good. So, so good. Can you tell I'm jazzed up about this? Like,
Oh,
I'm
so
like
jazzed.
so
Like,
ready. I'm like
I
goosebumpy.
know. I can't even wait. There will be details about how you can join Generation Wealth in the show notes below. And of course, you can always find information on our website, luscioushustle.com, or where we hang out most, luscious.hustle on Instagram. What else, Betsy?
And we're kicking off September 20th. So
Yes.
you do not want to sit on this. You do not want to wait on this. Join us. Let's deep dive into this conversation. Let's break these old rules that we have around money. Because again, it's not just about making money. It's about keeping money. It's about investing money. It's about giving money a purpose. And if you're struggling to do any of those things right now, like make money, then guess what? This is the container for you. We're going to break through that right now.
Hey, Luscious Hustler. Thank you for sharing your time with us today. We are over the moon grateful that you joined our conversation. If you can take 2 minutes to share this episode with a fellow entrepreneur or side hustler, it will not only have a massive positive impact on their life, but it will also signal to the universe that you are ready to take inspired action.
Then head on over to iTunes and leave us a review. Let us know what you enjoy and what you would like to hear more of. It will support us on our mission to empower women to build the businesses of their dreams. Until next time, Luscious Hustler.